to NDTV's World Report. I'm Divya. We have a whole lot lined up, and let's just start with the Trump administration's chief negotiator, Brendan Lynch, who's holding closed-door talks with the chief Indian negotiator, Rajesh Agarwal, today. The broader focus of the trade talks will be centered on new steps required to enhance bilateral trade across the goods and services sector. This is going to be increasing the market, the access, and reducing tariffs and non-tariff barriers, and deepening supply chain as far as integration is concerned. Government sources have said that today's talks are expected to create the ground for the round as far as the Indo-US negotiations in the coming weeks is concerned. So this is these talks were meant to take place in the end of August, but they were put on hold. Why? Because the tariffs came into effect. Do remember that deadline had, been met, and it was Donald Trump who imposed 50% tariffs, at 25% additional tariffs as far as goods that were being exported here out of India to the United States. But now, of course, after calling Prime Minister Modi his good friend, we are back on that negotiating table, and Ghazali joining us in order to get us the latest. Ghazali, of course, this is the sixth round of talks taking place between, New Delhi and Washington. How soon do you think, one will be able to sign on that dotted line?
See, it is a long drawn process because this is happening after a lot of ups and downs in the relations between India and US, particularly the way Mr. Trump has dealt with the entire trade deal by first announcing sanctions on India, then punitive measures, an additional 25% leading to 50% tariffs on India. And if you know, the new US ambassador to India during his Senate hearing went on to say that US administration or the Trump administration is still willing to put pressure on India to not purchase oil or energy sources from Russia. So that is still continues to be a point of contention between the two countries, whether that would also be addressed in these negotiations, because this is directly our oil purchases with Russia has been a point of contention between India and US trade talks as well. It has impacted trade talks in the past. Now, in this particular session, though not much is expected as of now, but this is a welcome move because Mr. Trump had also shown some kind of reconciliatory approach with India by softening his stand by saying that India is a great partner. So this particular round of talk just hints that India and US have resumed their negotiations on trade, but how and when this BTA will be announced, I think it will take some time before we reach to that conclusion.
Right, all eyes are waiting on the outcome of this round of negotiations that are taking place here in New Delhi. Thank you, Ghazali, for getting us the latest. Now, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has announced that the Washington as well as Beijing teams have reached a framework agreement on the ownership of TikTok's American operations. He said that the understanding was set during trade talks in Madrid and would allow for US ownership, with President Trump there, of course, and Xi Jinping expecting to finalize that deal. Now, Trump wrote on social media site that the negotiations had gone on well and that China had also confirmed that framework agreement, but emphasized that no deal would come at the cost of the interests when it comes to Chinese companies.
Mr. President, you had the framework that's been agreed to with TikTok, for example. Will China continue to have a stake in the company?
Well, we haven't decided that, but it looks to me, and I'm speaking to President Xi on Friday for confirmation of that, and, frankly, more importantly, a big deal. And we've had very good meetings. As you know, we were in Europe, our people, Scott Bessent and Jameson Greer, and others. And it was a very big meeting with China. And, they're treating us with respect. We treat them with respect, too. But it was very successful. And on top of it, we have what could be a very good deal. Don't forget, I've had more people say, could you try and keep TikTok alive? I use TikTok. I mean, I have to admit it in the election. And look how I did with you. No Republicans come close.
We have a framework for a TikTok deal. The two leaders, President Trump and Party Chair Xi, will speak on Friday to complete the deal, but we do have a framework for a deal with TikTok.
And staying with news of Donald Trump, the US president, who's gone on to say that American forces carried out a second kinetic strike. This is a strike in Venezuela on his orders, killing 3 terrorists who were transporting drugs in international waters. President Donald Trump has said that the US military destroyed a Venezuelan vessel in international waters, claiming that it was linked to drug trafficking. He added that the 3 men were killed in that strike on what he described as violent cartels, though he's gone on to put out a video. This was a 28-second video that he put out in order to show what's really happened here, without even providing any kind of evidence that the port was carrying drugs or narcotics.
We have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was like it's spattered all over the ocean. Big bags of cocaine and fentanyl all over the place. And it was, plus we have recorded evidence that they were leaving. We've recorded them. It's very careful because we know you people would be after us. We're very careful.
And US President Donald Trump has said that he's suing American daily, the New York Times, over its coverage of him over the decades. Now, the American leader has said that he's bringing a $15 million defamation lawsuit against the publication that he labeled as a virtual mouthpiece for the radical left Democrats, and that is something that he said he won't stand, and of waging this decades-old campaign of lies against him. The Republican claim that the newspaper's supposed endorsement of Kamala Harris, his Democrat rival in the presidential race, is the point at which Donald Trump decided to make this move, which he said was placed prominently on the Daily's front page, amounted to the single largest illegal campaign contribution ever. That is the claim that is being made by Donald Trump before he went ahead and sued the New York Times. A large plume of smoke was seen in the Gaza Strip from the southern part of Israel. An explosive and the sound of gunfire could also be heard. Israel's defense minister has said that Gaza is burning after heavy strikes targeted Gaza City. This remark comes as Israel has been planning a new offensive. The Israeli military has not responded to questions for hours over whether the offensive had begun. Both Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this happened on Monday, that the only way to end the conflict in Gaza is through the elimination of Hamas and the release of the remaining 48 hostages, around 20 of whom are believed to be alive. Now we have an exclusive interview with Mauritius Minister for Financial Services and Economic Planning, Dr. Jyoti Jeetun, in which she talks on a wide range of topics, from ties based on ancestry to fighting corruption. On the other hand, it's Mauritius Prime Minister who arrived in New Delhi yesterday after completing his visit to Tirupati. Let's listen in to this exclusive interview with my colleague Aditya Rajkol.
I want to begin by asking you about this particular visit, a historic visit that happened and began from Varanasi, and then from the Kashi Vishwanath you moved to Ayodhya. How significant was this particular visit, and how do you see this, laying the foundation of these ties to a renewed level?
Aditya, pleasure to be with you this morning. I must say that, our very special relationship with India is based on a bedrock of our ancestry. As you might be aware, some 70% of our population originally come from, parts of India, different parts of India. So the visit to, the trip to Varanasi, the state visit that started there for our Prime Minister and his delegation, epitomized that, It was the welcome from the people and the government of Varanasi was absolutely, terrific and way beyond overwhelm all of us. And Varanasi, so not only just the people, the government, but also the place in itself. The Ganga Aarti that we did on the cruise was, and all of us experienced that. We had goosebumps and we felt that very, very deep power of Ganga and the Aarti on that evening. And then, yes, next morning we went to Kashi Vishwanath and then from there to Ayodhya. And all of that, so that ancestry based on cultural values, shared language, shared history, all of that was epitomized in these 2 days with Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji coming there and his delegation, and our Prime Minister being there with his delegation.
Well, with that, we're slipping into a short break. Back with a whole lot more on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Now, Google has said that it was investing £5 billion or 6.8 billion US dollars in the United Kingdom over the next 2 years to help power the country's AI drive. Ahead of a visit by US President Donald Trump, the funds would go towards the company's capital, its expenditure, its research, as well as its development, and encompasses Google DeepMind with its pioneering AI research in science and healthcare. Google said in a statement that it is open to a data center, and this is going to be taking place. This announcement happened last year with a $1 billion US dollar investment. Now, this announcement that's come about would be on top of the money that has already been pledged, is what the Google spokesperson had to say.
A tribute to your mother, because the character that is developed in the film is named after your mom.
Is Manjari.
Manjari. Tell me more about it.
Nothing. Whenever I have a stronger female character, she's always been called Manjari. Nayak Rani Mukherjee was called Manjari. Shul Ravina Tandon was called Manjari. I am just not imaginative enough to give any other name.
But it also means that you look up to your mom like that.
Yes.
That she is that person in your life who
Yes,
defines strength.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
She keeps it all together. Right? And she's extremely sensitive as well.
Yeah. Tell me about the actors who have you. Every time you cast an actor, we can't imagine that person doing that role. And here we are talking about Aishwarya, who is amazing in the film. I have heard so much about him. Tell me, how did you decide to cast him?
After seeing his potential, like literally, it's why do you cast actors? Because
how
they're
was
very
the
good for their
audition?
own. There's no audition.
No, nothing.
No, I saw his showreel, and in his showreel there was a monologue he had done from Shul of Manoj Bajpayee, where I did not know who this boy was, literally, and I did not know that he was a Maharashtrian. Forget him being a Thackeray. And he was so good, when I reached out to him for a meeting, that's when first thing I found out he's a Thackeray.
Okay.
So I gave him the script and told him, as Batana, react to the script. After he reacted to the script, I needed to know, in the sense, I said, what resonates with you? And I said, I wanted him for Bablu. I did not say the double role. He prepped for it. And I said, I need to meet your family.
You met his family?
I had to meet. Obviously, that's how I would do with all my actors, because I need time from them. So I didn't want. What if they had other plans? So I needed to meet, and I met Smitaji, and I told her very clearly that if I am doing a film with him, I want his time from me, and I want all his time from me, and he can't do any other film as an actor, because he's also a musician. Music jitna chahe kare. As an actor, he cannot. If you have other plans for him, then you let me know now. There were scripts that came for him, and she would run it by me and by him, and he also was like, मैं यही film करूँगा, मैं यही film करूँगा. He also
kept
it away. She put a lot of faith in me, Smita ji. Same thing when I met Vedika. I said, I need to meet your parents first.